Aaron came over and met me at my house today, which kind of put a challenge on things. I wasn't sure what we were going to shoot. I'm still not sure what we're going to shoot, just kind of trying to find something. It was our way of staying isolated. We don't want to get in the same car together. But it makes it a little more challenging not going out to find something you think's really exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to make something interesting and different today. We're going to see how it goes. Thank you for joining us. I'm Hal Brainerd, and of course I have my videographer with me, Aaron Curtis Ingram, who is going to do all the fabulous editing, which can keep this really quite interesting, comical, and fun to watch. I want to discuss today the importance of lighting to create a masterpiece. This subject is what I'm most passionate about, for I think it's the heart of what makes a masterpiece. And this is going to separate the amateurs from the professionals. I'd love to be in an exotic location with you today and explain this, but the coronavirus is making that impossible. To make this video visually exciting, I will share some of my favorite images over the years. Ansel Adams, the master of landscape photography, said the best photographs contain the most tones of gray, still maintaining detail in your highlights and shadows. Now what this means is capturing the widest range of light the camera can handle and still see detail in your highlight and shadow areas. This is best accomplished with side lighting. Now, think about art class where we were asked to draw a sphere. One side had to have a highlight and the opposite had to have a shadow, with a graduation of mid-tones between your light and dark area. When done properly, the ball looked like you could reach out and pick it up because it appeared three-dimensional, and that is why side lighting can be so important. Being from Oklahoma, I remember how beautiful wheat was dancing with the wind. And it was interesting because this was only noticeable in the morning or the evening. But during the midday hours, you could feel the wind, but you couldn't see the wheat blowing. For some odd reason, I just found that fascinating because the wheat was always so beautiful when it was dancing with the wind. So therefore, the first and the last hour of daylight are called the golden hours for landscape photographers. At this time of day, the light is coming from the side. It has less contrast, making it easier to capture a wider range of light, or as Adams said, more tones of gray. The golden hours can help avoid the harsh contrast that comes later in the day. Now, Mr. Adams, he did not like color because the separation of objects could be accomplished with the color. The quality of the light was really not necessary for separating the objects. Capturing the image was easy, but you lost the three-dimensional effect or the depth that beautiful light gives you. If you capture a color image using his recommendation of obtaining the most tones of gray, you create a masterpiece with black and white or color. The histogram in your camera will let you know if you have exceeded the range of light the camera can handle, or if you have a perfect exposure. So be sure and use that histogram. Now, early morning and late evening, the sun passes through more atmosphere, which can make the light softer for capturing a wider range of light. If I'm trying to get a great shot, I watch the weather reports looking for a front that is passing through the area in the morning or in the evening. That can provide wonderful color in the sky with partial or slight cloud cover, helping to reduce the contrast. Now, contrast is a good thing. It's extreme contrast, which covers the majority of the day, which is a photographer's enemy. Once you lose detail in your highlights or shadows, you have bad contrast. Our eyes automatically correct for light or dark areas, so identifying correct light for the camera takes a little bit of experience. So start looking in your shadows. Are they very dark, which probably indicates extreme contrast, or are they softer and easier to see the detail? Start looking for good contrast, not extreme. So explaining good light's easy. Unfortunately, Mother Nature does not always cooperate when trying to capture perfect light. Great lighting is important with any subjects. Once you know what to look for, you can create the same lighting in a studio or in your home close to a window. This young man was sitting extremely close to the window in his living room. And he had to be extremely close because there's no direct light coming in. It's just the light filtering through the window. To create this side lighting, I want to make him three-dimensional. Now, the nice thing about that is that it required a very large physical aperture, which is a very small number, which really gave this child very little depth of field, which can really be difficult when you're dealing with a little one that wants to wiggle and move around. But he was a great subject, And as you can see, create a really nice shot. You'd think we're right in the studio. So the advantage with the studio, or even in your home, is that you have control of the light, not Mother Nature. This next shot was actually taken in my living room also, just using a flash on my camera and a flash on for the backlight. And of course, believe it or not, even the hamburger was taken in my living room, although I did use a professional studio setup for that. Getting great photographs, it's kind of like fishing. The more you go, the more fish you catch, the more images you capture. And creating a masterpiece is not easy. You're not going to get very many in your lifetime. So, it's important to just have fun and take advantage of the lighting that you have at the time. First, you've got to get beautiful light. And second, you've got to get a good exposure. Because with a good exposure and digital processing today, you can do anything you want. So the processing is definitely the third step of this to make a masterpiece. Backlighting, as you can see coming with this flower and the sunset, is beautiful, particularly on flowers and leaves, because the light is kind of passing through the flower, through the leaf, making it more intense. Now again, on this flower, I did use a little bit of a fill-in flash from my camera. Brides can be delightful with a little bit of backlighting because it makes the dress just glow. And just about any subject you can use backlighting with, as long as you're maintaining detail in both highlights and the shadows. Silhouettes are lovely, where you expose for the backlight and the subject's black. Often unusual conditions like the fog, blowing snow or dust create wonderful moods. We certainly don't have control of lighting when we're photographing our children at play, or, when we're photographing wildlife. So just get out there and have fun. Know what you're looking for, do the best job you can, and you're going to get some great shots. Because of the virus, I will remain in my yard and create different lighting examples. I want to show how lighting changes and why the perfect lighting is important. It is also necessary to know what lighting to avoid. I live at 3,000 feet in the Appalachian Mountains, and my yard is challenging because the scenery is rather lacking at this point in early spring. Very little is blooming. We had light snow yesterday morning. Before it melted, I captured examples of how the light changed, so you will know what to look for. Today, after it melted, I was able to capture a larger variety of subjects. So now we're going to show you some of the images that we've taken around the yard and explain what we've done. Capturing magnificent light takes time, patience, and planning. With all this preparation, you want to know in advance the scene that you're going to capture and the direction the light will be coming from. Now, if I'm photographing a morning landscape, I like to start shooting about 15 minutes before sunrise. The sky can be beautiful at that time of day, and if the light is too harsh once the sun pops up, I usually have something to show for my effort. I like to get on location about 45 minutes before sunrise with a flashlight, so I'll be ready to capture my award-winning image. Today, Mother Nature will probably not cooperate, but what Aaron and I want to do is help you become aware of the quality of light that you're looking for, and also, what to avoid. Yesterday morning was overcast with flat lighting. Notice there's no shadows or highlights, so there's really no sparkle in this image. Now here is a better example of what to look for. There is contrast, although due to scattered clouds, the light is varied. The shadows in the far left at the rock wall are darker, if not too dark, compared to the softer shadows in the forest behind the weeping cherry tree. Also notice the highlights in the pine trees on the left, giving more depth and shape to the forest. So, looking back at the first image, there's really no comparison. The second image is better, although it's certainly not perfect. This morning, by the time the clouds cleared, it was too late in the day with far too much contrast. So I cheated with this next image. Notice the rich colors, and with the back and side lighting, we have created wonderful definition. There's nice detail in the shadows, and we've maintained detail in the highlights. But this is an HDR, or high definition range image. To create this, 3 images were taken and put together. The first was taken with the correct exposure, another taken 2 stops overexposed, and the third 2 stops underexposed. This combination is made possible with digital photography when joined together in HDR. And this gives us the best exposure in the highlights, midtones, and the shadows. Now this is what we're looking for when we capture perfect light with only one exposure. My concern with HDR is why Adams did not like color. It's too easy to ignore that the light is not coming from the proper direction or at the right time of day. Now, with this image, we're still maintaining great side and backlighting. The side lighting gives us shape and depth, creating a three-dimensional image, while the backlighting is making the entire image sparkle. In the next image, I know the light's too harsh. So I decided to get a little creative, or perhaps desperate to create something. I let the harsh lighting illuminate the back of the flowers while adding a flash fill from the camera. Exposing more for the sky, the flowers are dark, but the flash fill is illuminated enough to keep them from going black. In an attempt to do something different, I combined this image by flipping the image around and joining it together, creating a graphic Asian design. Well, anyway, now coming back to reality, I captured the flowers backlit, making them pop against a dark background for contrast. But I also realized I liked the color combination of the blue sky and the pink flowers, thus creating two entirely different images. Looking around the yard, jonquils caught my eye, but to be really striking, they should have been backlit. Unfortunately, they're facing the wrong direction. To make them more interesting, I was thinking the Easter Bunny would love this. Now, if you'd only laid some eggs under those flowers, that would have made a better photograph. Viola pansies are nomads. They're always a gardener's spring surprise. From year to year, they move around. You never really know where they're going to pop up. They're so small, it usually doesn't matter. It just adds to the garden. I really like the composition of this image, with the flowers balanced nicely under the base of the winding bush, and the mushrooms standing tall in the background. Next, I want to show you one of our garden's most beautiful plantings, a Japanese maple. The branches form a lovely pattern winding towards the sky. But it's late morning, the sky is far too bright for a good exposure. So again, I cheated, created an HDR image, bringing the highlights, midtones, and shadows into proper balance. Again, stressing I cheated because with HDR, it's possible to create a nice image when the light is not coming from the proper angle for the shape and depth one should have for a great image. Although in this image, the backlighting is perfect for the leaves, and HDR makes a wonderful photograph. Obviously, you must capture the leaves without the wind blowing or the clouds moving too fast, because the three images will not line up together. Now for the last image, I wanted to wrap up the day by taking a nighttime shot. The moon was very bright, and this is a 34-second exposure wide open. Some of the flowers looked like cotton candy because of the wind. If there was no wind and the exposure was longer, it would look like a normal shot taken during the day. And this is certainly not something we could do with film, which adds one more dimension that digital photography gives us. I hope we've given you ideas for capturing better and more beautiful light, because that is what separates the amateurs from the professionals. If you're creating landscapes, it is not accomplished by shooting at any time of the day as we have done today. It can happen by watching the weather forecast and trying to capture a front coming in or leaving during the golden hours. But, you know, unless you have a special relationship with Mother Nature, don't expect her to cooperate. And that's what makes the art of photography so exciting, challenging, and rewarding when you nail it. The lighting today, certainly could have been better. But we hope from the examples you understand what quality of light you are looking for. To stay creative, it's good to just go out, have fun, see what you can do with the lighting provided. Aaron and I wish the best of luck with your photographic endeavors, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Well, thank you all again for joining us. As Hal said, we'll be back with you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. Hal is such a wealth of knowledge. I always get so much out of what he has to say. So y'all have a good day and see you next time.